Lisa here. Welcome to another episode of Salon Conversations. I've got two things I'm going to do podcasts on today, and I'm going to do the one I like first, which is how can I help? How can I help? If you are married to a hairdresser or a beauty therapist who owns a salon, I'm going to give you the inside. How can you help? This is for all the husbands. And maybe that's politically incorrect, and there might be a wife out there who'd like to help her husband. But my work is predominantly done with women who own a hair salon, who are, I don't know, world champions at juggling a lot. And one of the things that I'm really good at is getting them to see your perspective, the husband, because they might come into the room swinging, he does this and he drives me bad and he says I should do that. And I think, well, probably you should. And they listen to me, which is really fascinating. And so I would like to give you some insight into where I think you could be helpful. So I have asked the salon owners, and I've done it for years actually, so I kind of know where it is. But the thing is that she's juggling a lot emotionally, and whether you like it or not, that's just how she's wired, right? The fact that she wanted to have a salon and she wants to have team and she wants to please people and she wants to do all that just tells me what a serial people-pleasing type of personality she is. And if you think about it, that's probably why I fell in love with her in the first place, because she's got a yes strategy. She's got a I can help you strategy. So she's a beautiful soul. However, she gets a little bit, what would be the word? She takes on more than she should. She struggles to say no. She gives people another chance and another chance and another chance. She doesn't say what she really needs to say. She bottles things up. She doesn't really tell you the whole story because she doesn't want you to judge her. She saves her best for work, and sometimes she comes home and she's just horrible to be around. She can't judge time. She says 6 o'clock, it's not 6 o'clock. She hates for you to tell her what she should be doing. She doesn't take feedback very well. And she's not used to being disciplined because she is in charge of the salon. And so if she doesn't feel like doing it, she doesn't feel like doing it. She doesn't do it, and then she beats herself up for not doing it. So that's a lot. And that's just off the top of my head. So how can you help? Well, when you say things like, just piss her off then. I don't know why you put up with her. She's not a good fit in your salon. Just get rid of her. That doesn't help. And I'll tell you why it doesn't help. Even though she might know that, she sees the knock-on effect if she does that, right? So if she gets rid of her, she's worried that now there's a space of clients that she can't please, that she can't service. So she's thinking, oh my God. And without her even knowing it, she's thinking, better hang on to this one who's hopeless because there's nobody out there. I won't find another person. So she's not hopeful enough or confident enough in her own ability, and she doesn't back herself, so she doesn't stand her ground, and therefore she bends the rules, and then she becomes resentful, and unfortunately, quite often you are at the receiving end of that. How would you understand? They say, how would you know? Like, you don't know. It's not like your work. And they'll tell you that many, many times. Is it like your work? No, it's not like your work. I don't even know what your work is. But that's also a shield they hide behind too, because in many ways, like any business, and your work might be different as far as you work somewhere for a wage, but any business is the number of clients, what they spend, average dollar sale, and how often they repeat. It doesn't matter if you're a car wash or a motor mechanics or a hair salon or a beauty salon, it's the same. And in those areas of focus, we can make the change. But she often goes down the emotional track. And the reason I know that is because that's what I would do. I was too afraid to say what I absolutely knew what I should say because of the consequences. So I'll give you a little bit of an insight as to how I know this to be true, because I have never, ever met a hairdresser or a salon owner who doesn't have really well-behaved kids, like well-disciplined. They come in, they tell them to sit down there, and that's what they do. They sit down there, right? And I say to them, so you've got boundaries here. You know what to do here. I say, what's the difference? What do you reckon the difference is? And they think about it for a while. They're not worried that they'll get shitty and leave. They're even okay if their kids get shitty. Bad luck. It's a kid. It's 9 years of age. What would that know? Whereas when it comes to a peer and someone in their workspace who's looking after the clients, they don't even think about the financial loss if the person leaves. Or maybe some do, but it's more around the mess it's going to make. The mess it's going to make. And they're not happy when people are unhappy. The thing that I would say every time is, I'm not happy unless everyone leaves happy. If my clients leave happy and I'm happy, at the end of the day, I'm happy. And that secondhand happy will never get you anywhere. And that's why what I teach really gets them to understand that you're doing your best. You are absolutely doing your best, but it's just your delivery. It really is. It's just your delivery. And so at work, they have to be the person who is constantly going, no, you'll get it, to be this optimistic person. And they come home and their tank is empty. And when you say things like, well, I don't know why you're bitching about her again, because you're always bitching about it. It's always one or the other. It's one of them. You just come home and you bitch. And then that feels like a judgment. It feels like you are not prepared to listen or do anything about it. And so then they stop telling you stuff. Nah, not telling. I say, what did your husband say? They say, I don't know, don't tell him. Why don't you tell him? Because he always tells me the same thing, piss her off. And I said, well, maybe have a discussion around it. Like, this is your life partner. This is the person who you want to spend your life with. And like, go back to when you got married or moved in together and how optimistic and joyful were you? And now you're holding stuff back. And the reason they hold stuff back is they don't like your response. And I'm not asking you to change your response. I'm asking you to change your delivery, because that's all you need to do. They know, they're not silly. They know what's really going on. They just put it over here. They don't put it here. So they put it over here and you go, here it is. And they go, oh, piss off. That's what they do. They have the biggest hearts. They're kind and beautiful people, but they're not very good at boundaries. So that's my first one. I want you to hold boundaries. I want you to hold boundaries that says, when you come home, you're not allowed to dump all she's a shit and this happened and all that on me. Don't do that. Now, most of them don't do it. Well, I don't know everybody, but a lot of the time they just want some space when they get home. They don't want to hear about your shitty day or what that kid did or whatever, and I put the garbage out and I vacuumed over there. Look, was a heap of dirt there and I vacuumed there. They don't care. They just need to cocoon for a little bit, right? So talk about this. Have this, listen to this and say, do you agree? Stop the recording and say, would you like some time when you come home? I know when I had a salon that was 45 minutes away, when I came home and in the door, I was ready. But when I had a salon that was 5 minutes away, I wasn't. I was like, more. Kids would come up and you can't stop that. They're going to show you the two wheat boxes that they stuck together, and look what I made, Mum. I think, yeah, that's a cornflakes box and a wheat bix box. Good on you, Shags. Like, whatever. I don't care right now. And that's not a nice feeling to have, that your tank is empty and you couldn't care about the wonderful craft activity that your kid made. You think, yeah, good. And you do that because it's your child, but your husband, you do that. Not always, but you do. But my husband said, it's not fair. You can't do that. He said, I just think that you use all of your energy and all of your resources and you put everything into your work. Well done. But you've got to leave some for us. When you come home and you don't want to talk to anyone and you sit on the couch with a snarly face, that's really unpleasant. And that's what I mean by holding your boundaries and saying, I'm not doing it. Right? There's a time and a place, and you need to have a conversation around it, because I'm fascinated that people don't communicate like they should. You put up with it just a little bit more every day, and she puts up with it just a little bit more every day. And that's when the gap becomes wider, and it's hard. It's hard to come back from that gap. So my strategy around that is that you just make a time to meet. The amount of times that I've set up date night, having an hour where you'll go outside, you let the kids watch the video they want to watch or whatever, but you go away and you have an hour. It's better if you have it out of the salon, but have that time together. Like, My mum used to say, don't forget who was here first before the children come, because children and other ones, they'll suck the life out of you. And so will salon owners, salon team members. So if you've got children and a salon, you're twice at risk of that, twice at risk. Now, often in a all-male workplace, things are a bit more, like they're a bit more black and white, but women, never met a woman to complicate things like they do, me included. And you just think, and I've got quite a masculine energy and I get told off for not wanting to listen. I'm thinking, mate, you said that last week and the week before. Like I'm a problem solving machine, but I'm still a woman, so I still muck things up myself. I'm not saying I don't, but what's the real problem here? Like, why are we repeating it again? And one of the things that I teach the salon owners to say, do you want me to listen? Do you just want me to listen? Are you airing out? Or would you like me to give you a suggestion of what I think might be helpful? Or do you want me to fix it? Right? Now you can say that in many forms, many shapes and forms. You could say, is this just a listening session where you just rant on and nothing changes? That's a nasty way to say it. Or are you going to actually ever take any of my advice? That's another nasty way to say it. Or you go, mate, leave it to me. I'll fix her. That's showing that you think she can't. So that's 3 ways of saying it meanly, and that's not ideal. What you would say is, come here, give me a hug. You do a great job. You really do. And if you'd like me to just listen to you, I'm going to do it. Let's set the timer and you just get it all out. That's a really nice way to do it. Or you could say, why don't we talk about it? And maybe you talk and I'll take some notes, and I'll try and use my best thinking how we can come up with a bit of a solution, because it's sad to see you come home so exhausted from working with her, and I love you and I want to help you. That's a really nice way. Or the other way is, I don't know, do you want me to help you with this? Because I reckon I have a solution, but I need your permission first. And if you want me to, if you go, look, I'm done and you'd like me to help you with that challenge, then I can do it for you, because that's what I do. I'm your man and I can do it for you. So that's 3 really nice ways of saying that you're going to put some boundaries in place as to what's going on here, right? Because she's cooked, she can't be bothered, and she thinks, and they take it for granted. They do all the time. And the amount of times that husbands have said, well, I don't know what you did to her, but she's doing what I told her to do, that she wouldn't listen to. Absolutely, 100%. And quite often when I meet someone for the first time, I say, what does your husband think? Oh, just lets me do what I want, whatever. Or some of them say, well, he says this and he says that. And when I sense a feeling of frustration by the man behind, I say, well, let's get him on the call. Let's talk about it. And sometimes with the parent, with the person's quite young, and I say, let's get him on the call. I'm here to help her. And if that means that her relationships is with you is healthier and better and whatever, then we all win. You do too. But we have to accept that if you've been her husband for the 8 years that she's had the business, or the 4 years that she's had the business, and you're as frustrated as hell because she won't listen to you, then I think maybe it's time that you found another solution. Because you just saying you don't listen to me and she says you don't know what you're talking about, that's a stalemate and it doesn't change. And what I say, people say, what do you do for a living? And I say, I help hairdressers and beauty salon owners to make that identity shift from being a team member to a business owner, right? And then other times I might say I help them find the money that's hiding in their business. Or another time I might say, my strength is getting a woman to use her voice and to find her joy again in the thing that she really loves, which is owning a salon, because they lose their way. So there's so many ways that I can do it. But one of the simplest ways is say, I give women back to their husbands and children in a way that they found them before they got a salon. And that's the truth too. So, there's many things for many people, but don't kid yourself. She knows where her shortcomings are, and you pointing them out to her, perhaps in the way that you have, is not helping. So we've got to think about how else you could do that, right? So, DM me, give me your feedback. I'm happy to be wrong if it's different in your house. she doesn't want to fail and she doesn't want to give up this thing that she loves, because the secondary gain that she gets from working on the floor or in the salon is she feels like she's giving back to her industry and she feels the joy and all of that. So it's hard for her to be able to say, no, don't do that. And it's interesting because I find in the early years, they have much clearer direction. They have a lot more energy. And as you get older, you just don't. It's harder. So my belief is that they can't stay on the floor and do the hours that they once did. I just don't think you can. I just don't. I know every now and again you see some barber who's 97 and he's still cutting hair, and I think good, but that's not the average. That's an exception. You know, the same way as Keith Richards is an exception that drugs and alcohol will not actually kill you. So, you know, there is an exception. So let's not worry about our 99-year-old grandmother who still smokes and drinks beer and she's still alive. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about the majority of women. For every 5 to 10 years that they own their business, their tank's empty. It's very empty. And the solution is to get them off the floor, to train the team to behave in a way that they should. Now, off the floor might not be completely off the floor. It might be down to 10 hours. It doesn't matter. You can still have the joy, but your responsibility needs to shift to servicing the team members as opposed to servicing the clients. A really important shift. So that's where I'd like your support to promote that. I think limit the discussion. You know, I think, and it might go both ways. You might come home, she might come in the door and you start telling her all these things about people you work with that she doesn't even know and doesn't care about. So limit the discussion and put some like parameters around it. You'd say, do you want to talk about your day or do you need 20 minutes? And she goes, no, give me 20 minutes. Good. That's a parameter, right? It might be that she's not allowed to talk about it just when she wants to talk about it and you don't want to talk about it. You're watching the football and she comes over and she wants to tell you everything about what's going in the salon in her life, and you think, mate, go away. I just want to watch the football. I've been waiting all week for this match. So, you know, when there's a time that it's okay to talk about it and when there's not. I work with my partner in life, and he's my partner in business, and we struggle with that because he'll be working on something, and if he wants to work at 7 o'clock at night, then that's fine. Just don't come and ask me for any information because I'm not doing that. I am a person who's first thing in the mornings when I work, and as the day goes down, so does my battery. And I don't like that. It's not saying that I don't, because sometimes I can do a very long night doing something too, but you've got to knock on the door first and ask, is it all right is it okay if I ask you a question now? It'll be quick. And that's another parameter around what you're doing. Instead of you ask this conversation, then what happens is you ask and then she answers and then she answers and you ask. And then one of you says, I don't want to talk about this now. And that generally happens about halfway through when nothing's been resolved. So I think a really good idea is to think about, can this wait? Do I need to know this now? And that's the same for her, and that's the same for you. Do I need to know the answer of this now? Because if I don't, here we go, post-it note. It goes on there. I do post-it notes for everything. I've got a board here, and it's any thought that I had, I just chuck it on there, right? Up there is update email picture. I don't know how long that's been there. It's not a life-changing thing, but it's on my board because it's one of the things that I'd like to get around to. And really all I have to do is ask my assistant, can she do it for me? But it's a thought. I don't have to think about it. It's there. There's lots of things. Off the floor hours, map that out. There's a couple of people's names there that I need to get back to. Like there's just things on that board, and that's what I do. So if you think to yourself, I want to ask her, but quite often, especially when you get, into your 50s or so, you're worried you're going to forget. So you want to ask so that you don't forget. And I'm saying, no, don't forget, just put it on a note and then you won't forget, right? So put it on a post-it note and then choose a better time. But if you were to spend 1 hour together each week, it could be, as soon as you get up and you walk and talk. I don't know, but it needs to be some sort of, this is what we do. This is our communication, because that will really change a lot. And even if it's 15 minutes at first, that's fine. Our strategy is that I talk for 5 minutes, or Simon, and you're not allowed to answer. You're not allowed to interrupt. You just talk. He never uses his 5, let's be honest, and I'm watching the clock because I've used my 5. I'm a woman, I talk a lot. And then he goes, okay, yep. Whereas when we first started, it was like, no, just let him talk. Let it out. Let it out. Just talk about it. And the greatest thing a man can ever do to a woman is let her talk. Just let her talk. We're world champions and we feel better. Sometimes you don't have to do a damn thing. We just feel better. And when we're talking it out loud, we nearly solve it ourselves. But we want you to listen to us. That's what we want. And that's what she wants. Another thing is, and I talked about this yesterday in a meeting, about don't ring and say, do you want me to get something for dinner? One, you're interrupting. And if you don't know how to organise a meal, then that's, I don't know whose fault, mother probably, or hers, I don't know. But like, why is that her job? Does she ring you at work and say, do you want me to get something for dinner? Like, if you've agreed that the meal preparation and the purchasing of all the food is her choice, then that's your choice. But I think, why can't you say, on Thursday I'm in charge, and cook whatever you want? I don't care if you cook an egg on toast. That's your job. And go to your mother and get one recipe. I don't care what it is. Just be in charge. If she's doing a late night, don't ask her, what do you want me to get out for dinner, or what do you want me to get something at the supermarket? It's too late. That horse is gone. Why can't you do a cook up on the weekend and freeze some spaghetti bolognese, and your job is to boil a pasta and put it together and feed the kids and do the dishes and the dogs and whatever else? Like, have some guidelines as what's your expectation, because, to ring her and say, what do you want me to get? She's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, get whatever. Like, why are we doing that now? Why aren't we doing that last week? Just make your life easy. I don't know, just do it. My kids were 15 when I said, all right, you can cook Wednesday and you can cook Thursday. And my daughter would like a recipe and she wanted to make something. My boys didn't care. They fried eggs, they fried bacon, made a hell of a mess, and they served it to you on toast. And I said, fabulous, I'm happy. I can live on that. Right? But it's about teaching responsibility to other people in your life. So if your wife whinges all the time about how she has to cook, but she doesn't make a roster for your children that are over the age of, I don't know, 15 or something, then this is an ongoing problem. I don't understand the amount of people that have helped, women to put up a roster for their adult children that live at home. Like, go back to, this is a bit of a whinge, but go back to when I grew up. I left home at 17 and mum said, good on you, you'll be fine. No worries. Like, we help so much. And sometimes I wonder whether is it really help or not? Like, I don't know. I was a bit bossy. I said to the kids, if your bed's not made, I'm not taking you to school. Get the bus, I'll be late, and gets held in, right? But in my house, you make the bed. Now, as adults, I don't reckon, I know one does. Actually, 2 out of 3. One's a bit slack. But I'm not a failure as a mother. In the house, that's the rules, make the bed. But sometimes I'm just thinking, mate, well, have a look at that rule. Like, have a look at that room. Like, I just think one of the things we do is we teach each other to look after each other. And when you live with someone and she works late or she comes home grumpy, then that's on you. Tell her, can't do it. I'm not doing it. I'm done. I'm sick of you coming home grumpy. And if you're the one coming home grumpy, she needs to tell you. Like, I think if we treated our marriages a bit more like a business, things would be better. And if we treated our business as a bit more like a marriage, which means I'm going to love you unconditionally and I'm going to teach you and I'm going to show you how I want you to treat me, then I think our businesses would be better too. But we just go, yeah, that's just him. Yeah, that's just her. That's just him. And I don't know that just him, that just her gets us anywhere, really, right? Learn to cook one recipe, and that's what you eat every Thursday. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. I think the thing that's really important is there's some really small things that would really help. And if you communicate what they are, I think that's really important, right? Some of them were so funny. One of them said, don't ask me dumb questions. Don't ask me to say which kid should be where, like where's the soccer pitch, and where's those questions. Ask the kid. The kid's old enough to play soccer. The kid needs to be responsible to find out where it is, or get the roster and put it on the fridge. I don't know, put it on your thing. But to ask those questions last minute, pause and think, do I need to ask this question? Or maybe could I ask the kid? See, the trouble is we get interrupted that many times at work. Do you want me to rinse this colour? the lady's going to be late. She's going to be 10 minutes late. Will you still be able to take that appointment? Like, we get things all the time that are out of our control. So when you or your children ring up, my boys were the worst. I had twin boys. I used to ring up and they'd say, mum's on the phone. They'd say to me, oh, your son's on the phone. I said, yeah, and ask him, is there a fire or is somebody bleeding? And they'd go, I can't ask him that. And I said, well, I'm not taking the call. Like, why are you even asking me? And they'd go back and you'd hear them whisper, and then they'd go, okay, no worries, Aaron, thank you. And when I get home, I'd say, well, what happened? What were you ringing? Jake was on the Xbox, and it was 20 minutes. I set the timer, and I caught him shifting the timer. He had more than 20 minutes. And you're telling me that at work because don't do that. Don't do that. Right. And so, as funny as that is, little shits, I just think don't. So I've got to not only train the boys not to do that, because that's not on. I have to train the receptionist not to listen to them and to ask them like a bulldog would in a doctor's surgery and says, how much are you bleeding? Right. And you think, oh, God, do I have to tell you all my problems? Yeah, because she's the front door. And so the person who answers the phone, we should be able to say, Aaron, I know what your mum's going to say. So is it an emergency? And train your children what an emergency is. The timeshare on an Xbox ain't an emergency. I can remember one Saturday morning, one of the girls, my handbag was open, and she said, you've got the remotes to the TV and the Netflix here. I go, yeah, I know. Because I told them when they got their homework done, they could use the television, and I don't trust them. So they'd be looking everywhere, and they're thinking, where is it? Where is it? And very hard to turn television on with that remote. And I did it on purpose to teach them a lesson. So they'd ring up and say, oh, we've done all our jobs, Mum, but we can't find the remote. I go, oh, you've done them all, have you? So have you walked the dog? Oh, no, we haven't walked the dog. Then go walk the dog. Like, it's pretty sad that you have to do that to your children, but you do. And I think the more, this is what we do, tick it off. On Monday, you set the table. On Wednesday, you empty the dishwasher. Like, stop the arguments and just sort it out, because that's the thing that drives you mad. You just think, oh, and that will bring the double-headed monster out of the person you love who owns a salon. I'm not making excuses for her, but what I'm saying is you need to be on the same page, because if you're not, this will just happen forever. And so, no dumb questions. Where's this kid meant to be? That kid doesn't know where it's meant to be, and you're the one saying, come on, you have to go to soccer and all that. Well, that kid's not keen to play soccer, so maybe stop playing for the soccer. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but it needs to be workshopped, and you need to be honest about, what are we doing here? You know, like, what would make your life a joy and what would make her life a joy? And the thing that I loved the most, when my children were little, I lived 45 minutes away from where I worked. And it was a place where I'd worked for about 16 years. And so when I first went back to work, I went back on a Friday, and I started like at 1 o'clock, and I would leave on the bench what I wanted them to eat. So it might have been, here's the pasta, and a note that says, the pasta sauce is in the fridge, enjoy, something like that. Or maybe there's something that I wanted to say. So I'd write on a note and off I went. And then I would stay at my Italian mother-in-law's, and one of the greatest things that I used to love was they were in bed when I came in, and I don't know, 9:30 or something, I had to get up early, and on the table was this little parcel of food, and she used to wrap it up like it was, I don't know, going to jump out of a box. It was like this little tin container. It had these clamps on it. I've seen them making fun of it in the past, like let's lock this pasta up because it gets out. So she used to make it warm just before she went to bed, and she put it in there, and then she wrapped it in a tea towel and tied the tea towel in a knot because she'd never microwave. And I used to come in, and that was on the bench, and there was a fork and no one to talk to. And that was the greatest gift of my week, right? They weren't little children. They were actually. Yeah, it was before I had my salon. The children were the twins were 8 when I got my salon, and 9. So they were way younger than that. And yeah, they probably were. Maybe, I think we moved there, maybe 6s. They were 6s and 7s, something like that. And I just thought, this is so nice. No one's going to come in my bed. Nobody's going to like cry in the night or something. No, my husband was in charge, and I used to just love it. Just eat in silence. That was the one thing, the pasta. I could eat it like lukewarm. Have children, you learn to eat your food when it's lukewarm. And the other dish she always made was this rice dish. It was like I laughed. I was telling the girls yesterday, yeah, the good one, the tuna, not to this one you'll give her the cat. She used to say the tuna in brine was like cat food, she said, but the one in oilless, I think it's Serena, this is a good one. So that had that tuna, freshly cooked rice, onion, celery, and not much else. I don't think that was it. That was the rice salad, and that would be sitting there with a fork. That one wasn't wrapped up so tightly as the other one, but I just love it. I just go through, eat it, get in the shower, get the hair off me, and get into bed, and wake up brand new, right? So sometimes it's just as simple as there's your dinner, love. It's on the table, and just write "love you" on a post-it note and stick it on the top, like. To weigh to your wife's heart is just do the simplest things. And I don't know what that is because I'm not your wife, but you need to ask her. You need to ask her. And it might be that you drop off some food at the salon. Like if you were dating her, that's what you'd do. You'd call in and drop her off a coffee. I've been in a dating situation. You think, oh my God, that's so nice. Someone drops you off something. You could do that. All right. So it's not that hard, but I think that you need to hold the boundaries of what you think is expanding, because a lot of times they expand. You can see you're getting tighter, and you don't say to her, mate, you're grumpier than you were 5 years ago. There's ways to say it, and I think you know it. Women are shocking for not telling you what they need. Shocking. Absolute shocking. They want you to work it out, and you have no clue. They just think he should know better. He should know. And I think, no, he shouldn't know. He shouldn't know. You need to tell him. It's pretty simple, right? What would you like? Where are the places where you think, no, this is sacred. Don't talk to me. I'm watching the footy. And where is it for her? I don't know. But you both enjoy each other more when you're clearer. And just remember why you got together in the first place. And you deserve a medal to be married to a woman who owns a salon. Just say you do, because it's a big gig. It's more than she ever thought it was going to be. And try and get it off her. I try and get them to sell it sometimes, and they hang on to them for grim death. I think, mate, it's not making you any money. Your husband hates your salon, and you still won't let go of it. So I'm on your side. This needs to make money. This needs to give you a lifestyle. And if it gives you a holiday every year and it makes you money and she's happy, go. But if it doesn't, you need to call her out on it. And you need to be able to say to her, we need to talk about this, because at some point she will not own that salon. I don't know when it will be, but you need to have that conversation too. For how many years are we going to do this with, and for me to watch you struggle? What are you going to do about it? Right? Put some lines in the sand and say, I'm prepared to help you. I need to know what you need. What would be helpful? And if that's you leave the food on the table late night when she comes home, or you've done the kids' readers, or whatever it is, find out. Find out what it is, because, and I've seen this all the time, they'll say, oh my God, I can't believe my husband did that. And I think, well, you didn't give him enough instructions. That's why he did it. He's doing his best to help you, but you're not helping him. You need to tell him what you need and tell him what you don't need, so that he is more appreciative. I think I remember there's many blokes I've run into and they go, I don't know what you did to her, but thank you, which is a really lovely compliment. But I remember one bloke say, she's frisky again. And she was there. She goes, oh, shut up. And he goes, she is. Let's just say that. And I thought, yeah, because that comes from being joyful, right? So this is your life. This is your wife. You can help her, but you've got to ask some questions. So hopefully that was helpful. I look forward to seeing you in another chat maybe. Yeah, this is generally, podcasts are made for the salon owner, but this one in particular, I thought, how can I help her? And I thought, yeah, maybe I can speak to the husband. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.